Welcome to the Weekly Homicide Report, the weekly program where we talk about all the people that needlessly died at the hands of another person. So let's take a look at this week's graph. Chicago had 20 recorded homicides last week. That sounds like a big number, but 3 weeks prior, there were 25 murders in a week. Philadelphia had 6 homicides, which is well below their 10 a week average this year. And just to give you a little idea of how bad Philly actually is, at their current rate, by the end of the year, Philly's murder rate will be 34 per 100,000 people, where Chicago would only be 25 per 100,000 people. Baltimore had 5 homicides, their lowest weekly total in more than 2 months. Milwaukee had 6 homicides, which is higher than their weekly average and 43 higher than this time last year. Washington, D.C. had 1 homicide last week, which is the best week there since I started keeping track in February of this year. There were 16 mass shootings last week, resulting in the deaths of 11 people and injuries to 72 others. I covered a few of these. Saturdays have become really bad in some cities, and last Saturday had 8 mass shootings, 2 of which were in Chicago alone. 7 children under the age of 11 and 35 between the ages of 12 and 17 were killed by gunfire. The 7 is about average for the young kids, but the 35 deaths of the 12 to 17-year-olds is 10 higher than average and the highest weekly total since I started keeping track 4 to 5 months ago. There were 29 incidents of defensive use with a firearm recorded last week. I covered a couple of them. 29 is the most in 1 week since I started keeping track, but that was only a couple months ago. And we're averaging around 22 a week this year. But I'll say it again, when defensive use is high, the murder rate is lower. For example, in 2017, there were nearly 6 defensive use of a firearm incidents recorded every day, and 43 homicides a day. In 2021, there were 3.5 defensive uses per day and 57 homicides a day. Now, the defensive use theory is just my opinion, and aside from, the study I did, I haven't seen anyone else say this, so you can decide for yourself on that. On to the murder-suicides. Now, these are just the ones done with a gun, and so far in week 30, we're at 408 for the year, and that's an increase of 16 from last week. So that's all I have for you today. But I'll be back next week with the week 31 numbers. Until then, have a great week, and I'll catch you next week. Support this channel and pick yourself up some original crime-related apparel. Look for the link in the description.